I have an update on my copyright troll story. So a few weeks ago, it talked about how I'd been attacked by 3 or 4 copyright trolls. Well, since then, I've been attacked by another copyright troll. This one from Canada. So some background on this story. Back when I was fresh out of college, I did a lot of blogging because it was the 2000s and everybody was doing blogging. And I blogged mostly about politics, but I also blogged about dating and relationships. Those were my 2 main focuses. And at Obama's very first G8 summit, there's this very famous photo of him looking at some Brazilian woman's butt. And I could not comment on this photo. It was the intersection of dating and relationships and like sexual relations, men and women, and politics, right? Like this was the ultimate 2008 Thomas Umstattd topic, right? And so I post the photo and I leave some commentary and then I draw some bigger pictures when it comes to dating and relationships. You know, a classic early Thomas Umstattd post. And everybody else was commenting on this photo as well at the time. The photo went viral. You probably are picturing it in your head. And I learned later that it was just a really unfortunate like moment from a video. It wasn't actually what it looked like. He was like turning his head, and it just camera snapped at just that right angle. And it was actually Macron, the French prime minister, who was anyway. So lots of drama. Most of that didn't matter, but the photo was licensed by Reuters. It was a Reuters photo, and they had licensed it, and they had filed the copyright. And so the defenses that I used last time didn't work. And also this was on my personal blog. And so I didn't have as good DMCA protection because it was a first party use of the image. So I couldn't say that it was a third party using the image. And it was a different company attacking me. It was a Canadian company attacking me rather than a German company. And so I couldn't say that I couldn't, and they had the evidence. They actually in the initial emails like, this is a licensed copyright. Here's the copyright license. And I looked it up myself on the copyright.gov. Sure enough, they'd copyrighted that image, which is typically the case for Reuters and AP photos. So most stock photos are not actually have their copyrights registered correctly, but for photos and newspapers, they do have the legal engine to make that happen. So all of the defenses that I used last time, I wasn't able to use. But I was not going to let some Canadian copyright troll take away my freedom of speech to comment on my own president looking at some Brazilian woman's butt.
This is America.
America. So I and so part of me was like, because they weren't asking for a lot of money. They were like asking for like $500 or whatever. And but for me, it was the principle of the matter, because I know that if I had put that commentary on Twitter, that they wouldn't be coming after me. And they were only coming after me because I was doing it on my own platform. And this is an attempt of corporate America to silence individual humans that they can't control. Right. If I had posted on Twitter, Twitter could have deleted it if they disagreed with the politics, whereas Twitter can't delete it on my own personal blog. And so they're now using this legal angle to try to silence individuals. And I will not be so easily silenced. And so what I did was I took their email and I pasted it into, and I was like, Grok, take on the role of an attorney, help me with this email. Now, their emails are crafted in such a way where if you do that, the email is going to be like, yep, this is legitimate. You're in big trouble is what the AI is going to tell you. But so I started talking with Grok, and I was like giving it more context. And I was like, well, this is a political photo. Because remember, Grok can't actually see the image. It just reads the email. And so as I'm talking to it, I'm building this legal case of fair use. So fair use usually is not a good defense. Like a lot of people just like want to wave their hands and say this is fair use. But there are 4 legal elements of fair use that are in the statute. And so I went through those with Grok and to see which ones applied. And the fact that it was political speech also went really far, right? Because courts just don't crack down on political speech. American courts anyway. Canadian courts, they crack down on political speech all the time. Like the truckers just got a really bad time of it. But in America, even like the Supreme Court upheld the Ku Klux Klan and like neo-Nazi rallies and like they have the right under the First Amendment, right? It's awful, but the answer to speech, according to the Supreme Court, is more speech, not less speech. And so efforts to shut down political speech are really frowned on. And so I built this case with Grok of public, basically saying this is fair use. So yes, it's copyright. We're not contesting the copyright, but I still have a right under American law to use it under the fair use provision of the law. And I'll keep you all up to date on how it goes. But I'm like, this has to go to court. It can go to court. My ancestors died for me to have freedom of speech. I'm not going to sell it to some Canadian for $500.
So back to picking your battles. All right,
Here I stand. I can do no other.
If Thomas goes off the air,
If I am impoverished, you will know.